Have you ever wondered what The Simpsons would be like if it started way back in the 1950s? Let's take a fun trip back in time and imagine this wild idea. Hey, today we're going to talk about something cool. What if our favorite yellow family, The Simpsons, was on TV not just now, but way back in the 1950s? Can you picture Homer and Marge in those old-fashioned clothes? Or is little Bart causing trouble in a world without video games? It's a crazy thought, right? Well, let's dive in and see what this topsy-turvy world might look like. The 1950s Simpsons family. First, let's think about how the Simpson family might be different. Homer wouldn't work at a nuclear power plant. Those weren't around back then. Maybe he'd work in a factory instead. Marge would probably be a stay-at-home mom because that was common for ladies in the 50s. Bart and Lisa would still go to school, but it would be very different from what we see now. Imagine Bart without his skateboard. He might ride a bicycle instead or play with a hoop and stick. Lisa wouldn't have her saxophone. She might play the piano instead. And baby Maggie, well, she'd still have her pacifier, but it might look a bit different. Their house would look old-fashioned too. No big TV in the living room, maybe just a small black and white one. The kitchen would have an old refrigerator and stove. And forget about computers or smartphones. Springfield in the 1950s. Now, let's think about how Springfield would look. The power plant wouldn't be there, but maybe there'd be more factories with big smokestacks. Cars would be bigger and older looking. The quick E-Mart wouldn't exist. Instead, there might be a small general store. The school would look different too. Kids might all wear the same clothes like uniforms. And Principal Skinner, he'd probably be even stricter. Remember Moe's Tavern? In the 50s, it might be a soda shop instead, where teens hang out after school. And Mr. Burns? He'd still be rich and mean, but maybe he'd own a big car factory instead of a power plant. The show's style. If The Simpsons was on TV in the 1950s, it would look very different from what we see now. The drawings would be simpler, maybe more like old cartoons such as Mickey Mouse or Poppy. The colors might not be as bright, and the animations would be less smooth. The show would probably be in black and white because color TV wasn't common yet. And instead of half-hour episodes, they might have short 5- or 10-minute cartoons that play before movies in theaters. The humor would be different too. Jokes about computers, the internet, or modern pop culture wouldn't exist. Instead, they might make fun of things popular in the 50s, like rock and roll music or drive-in movies. Episode ideas. Let's imagine some funny episodes they might have in the 1950s version of The Simpsons. They could have Homer the Greaser, where Homer tries to fit in with the cool kids by becoming a greaser, complete with slicked back hair and a leather jacket. But he gets in trouble when he accidentally joins a real gang. Or how about Marge's Tupperware Party, where Marge hosts a Tupperware party, which was a big thing in the 50s. But things go crazy when Homer mixes up the plastic containers with his lunchboxes. We could see Bart's bubble gum disaster, where Bart gets addicted to bubble gum and blows a bubble so big it floats him away. The whole town has to work together to get him down. In Lisa the Beatnik, Lisa discovers beat poetry and jazz and starts hanging out with a crowd of artistic teens. But she learns that being cool isn't always what it seems. And don't forget Maggie and the hula hoop, where a new toy called the hula hoop becomes popular. And baby Maggie turns out to be the best at it in all of Springfield. Famous guest stars. The Simpsons love to have famous people on the show. In the 1950s version, they might have some big stars of that era. Elvis Presley could visit Springfield and teach Homer how to dance. Imagine Homer trying to swivel his hips like Elvis, but accidentally knocking over everything in sight. Elvis might end up hiding out at the Simpsons' house to escape his screaming fans. Lucille Ball from I Love Lucy might become friends with Marge and get her into funny situations. They could work together at a chocolate factory, just like in the famous I Love Lucy episode, but with a Simpsons twist. Maybe they end up covering the whole town in chocolate. James Dean could give Bart lessons on how to be cool. Bart might try to copy James Dean's rebellious attitude, but find out it's harder than it looks. The episode could end with James Dean teaching Bart that true coolness comes from being yourself. Marilyn Monroe might make Mr. Burns fall in love with her. Picture Mr. Burns trying to impress Marilyn with his wealth. while she's more interested in hanging out with the regular folks of Springfield. This could be a funny way to show the clash between old money and new Hollywood glamour. Walt Disney could offer to buy Springfield and turn it into a theme park. The townspeople might get excited at first, imagining their town full of cartoon characters and rides. But they soon realize that they prefer their simple life in Springfield, teaching a lesson about the value of community over commercialism. These guest appearances would not only be funny, but they'd also give viewers a glimpse into the pop culture of the 1950s. It would show how these big stars were seen by regular people and how their fame affected small-town America. How would people react? If The Simpsons existed in the 1950s, people might react differently than they do now. Some folks might think it's too silly or weird. Others might love it for being so different from other shows. Parents might worry that Bart is a bad influence on kids, but children would probably love him and copy his catchphrases, just like they do now. The bright colors and funny faces might seem strange to people used to more realistic cartoons, but it could also make The Simpsons stand out and become popular. Some of the jokes might seem too grown-up for a cartoon. Remember, back then, most cartoons were just for kids. The idea of a cartoon that both adults and children could enjoy was pretty new. How it might change TV. If The Simpsons had been around in the 1950s, it could have changed TV in big ways. It might have made cartoons for grown-ups popular much earlier. Other TV shows might have tried to copy its style of humor. It could have made people think differently about what families on TV should be like. The Simpsons might have inspired more creative and unusual shows to be made. It might have changed how commercials were made to be more funny and cartoon-like. Problems they might face. Making The Simpsons in the 1950s would not be easy. They might have some big problems. The jokes might be too modern for people in the 1950s to understand. Some people might think the show is too rude or silly for TV. Drawing and animating the show would take a very long time without computers. They might have trouble finding actors to do all the funny voices. TV networks might not want to show a cartoon that isn't just for kids. How it might be different from now. If The Simpsons started in the 1950s, the show we know today would be very different. By now, the characters might look different after changing over many years. The Simpson kids might be grown-ups with their own families. They might have run out of ideas after so many years and stopped making new episodes. The show might focus more on Bart and Lisa's kids instead of Homer and Marge. Or it might have become a classic that people watch reruns of, like I Love Lucy. What we can learn. Thinking about The Simpsons in the 1950s can teach us some cool things. TV shows are always changing and getting better. What people think is funny is different in different times. Technology has changed how we make and watch cartoons. Good ideas can work in any period if you change them a little. It's fun to imagine how things we love might be different in another time. The future of The Simpsons. Now let's think about what might happen if The Simpsons keep going for many more years. Maybe they'll make episodes in virtual reality, where you can walk around in Springfield. The characters might start to age and grow up, with Bart and Lisa becoming parents. They could make movies where The Simpsons travel through time and visit different periods in history. The show might be made by computers without any human animators. Or, The Simpsons might become a real family that people can talk to using artificial intelligence. Wow, can you imagine how different The Simpsons would be if it started in the 1950s? It's fun to think about our favorite yellow family in poodle skirts and leather jackets, isn't it? Even though it's just pretend, it shows us how much TV has changed over the years. The Simpsons has been making us laugh for a long time, and it's cool to think about how it might have been different in the past. Who knows? Maybe someday, kids will look back at The Simpsons we watch now and think it looks old-fashioned too. Remember, whether it's in the 1950s, today, or the future, The Simpsons will always be about a funny family that loves each other, even when they're driving each other crazy. Thanks for joining me on this silly trip through time. If you enjoyed thinking about this wacky idea, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel for more fun cartoon talk.